WELSTech is a bi-weekly podcast exploring the intersections of technology and ministry. It is part of the podcast network sponsored by WELS, the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Our show today is hosted by Martin Spriggs and Sally Draper. Hello again, everybody. This is WELSTech episode 774. We're recording on April 16th, 2026. My name is Martin Spriggs, and this is a show about technology and ministry and where we try and find those intersections. Helping me do that each and every time is Sally Draper. Hello, Sally.
Good morning, Martin. Happy to be joining you. You said the date, and it sparked a little memory of April 15th, yesterday, 2026. Always a big day for people, tax day and everything. But I realized yesterday morning in a meeting, I guess I was not paying very good attention. But anyway, it struck me that it was my dad's 100th birthday. My dad's been in heaven since 2010, but isn't that something to know someone who's 100 years old? And it just kind of puts things in perspective and think about all the technology that's changed in those 100 years.
The things they have seen, yes.
Yeah. Certainly the greatest generation, and miss him very much. But I know he's enjoying that heavenly banquet. That's probably got some catfish on it. Just so you know.
I was doing a devotion yesterday, and one of the kind of the themes was kind of remembering my grandma, who lived to be, I think, 91. She was born in the late 1800s. My dad was much older than my mom, so I didn't know her very long. She died in the 70s, but she was a grown woman and raising a family and doing all the things right in the middle of the Dust Bowl and the Depression, and that was tough sledding. We've got it pretty easy by comparison.
My dad was a Depression baby as well, so had a mom that was doing the same, my grandmother. So it's interesting. It seems like, technology is moving fast, but then when you start to put it in perspective of all that they saw in their lifetimes and how much changed, it's really pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah, there were big life changes then, too. We don't recognize it because it's so far in the past. But the fact that you could didn't have to ride a horse everywhere. You could get in a car. Yeah.
One of my favorite authors is Laura Ingalls Wilder, and reading her autobiography, she didn't start writing until she was like in her late 60s, early 70s. But she had this realization that she went from wagon train to airplane, because she literally did fly on an airplane towards the end of her life and stuff. And so she saw this amazing transformation in history and wanted to record it. So.
Which kind of puts things in perspective, even when you're thinking about technology, where we get a new smartphone and boy, it's so much better, but it's really about the same as it was when it launched. I mean, there's not light years of difference. It's still something you put in your pocket and you touch and scroll with your finger. I mean, it can do some amazing things, but and maybe AI is put that into context as well. We're not going to talk about AI today, although I mentioned the word. Yep, off the table. We talk about that a lot, and with good reason. I think there's ministry applications. But we're going to talk about something else today. So, you and I in our pre-show planning, so what in the world could we talk about that's not AI related? And it was probably harder than it should have been, to come up with topics. But there's a couple of things that came to mind. And one, we've been talking a little bit about church communications and school communications, and that's as important as ever. And we actually had a longer conversation about communications in general. And, we featured things like Grace and Gamach's newsletter and things like that. Talked about communication committees and so on and so forth. But one of the challenges, I think, in communications is you're still in this hybrid world where you are printing communications, but you're referencing digital resources. You want people to go to websites or things that are not in the same context as the way they're reading it. So they're looking at a bulletin or a newsletter or a flyer or a poster or something, and you want to give them more information than you can on a printed piece of paper. And that, of course, is online. How do you do that? So, a couple of those categories are what we're going to talk about today. One of them is URL shorteners, and those have been around a long time. We're talking about things like Bitly and that kind of stuff. And then QR codes, which we talk about from time to time, but that is, I think, one of those technologies that was a little bit before its time.
Hmm.
I think there wasn't widespread adoption, at least in my ministry circles, maybe 5, 6 years ago when, maybe it was more than that when they first came out. And now, because every phone can easily handle them, I think everybody's using them. So I think there's some good and some really productive uses for both of those technologies, but then also some things that you want to watch out for. So that is our show topic for today: URL shorteners and QR codes. So
Yeah, just this past Sunday, I noticed QR codes cropping up at our church that hadn't been
mhm.
there the week before, literally brand new QR code laying on the donut table of all places. So that's
Mm.
always a conflict for me. We have these wonderful quick trip donuts every week. People literally, well, the children rush out of church and run to the table to
Maybe
grab a
some
quick trip
adults too.
donut.
Yeah.
Maybe some adults too. It's definitely a good fellowship time that we all enjoy our donut on Sunday morning. Um, but I always fall short of putting a dollar in the basket. You know how they have a free will offering there because I just
Hmm.
don't carry dollars anymore. I just
Yep.
am a lot more electronic and digital than that in regard to my money. But they had a little circle laying on the table. It looked like a coaster and it said scan to give. And so if I want to give a dollar to the donut basket, there's the opportunity just laying right there on the table. And I really like that they made it portable. It wasn't like, um, you know, a sign hanging on the wall or something, but it was something they could put out at a potluck meal or whenever it's appropriate, to have that easy access to give a dollar if you don't
Yep.
have one in your pocket. So,
Yeah. One of the advantages to some of these technologies is what it points to can actually change over time. So that if you invest in printing coasters, with the QR code, and you change your payment mechanism, so you go from Venmo or PayPal to
Vanco.
Vanco or Give Butter or whatever it is, you don't have to reprint all that. You've got the entry point to that, and then you can just change where it goes. Now that can get people into trouble if something gets hijacked or there's some hacking going on and it's going to some place you don't want it to go to. So you want to be careful, and that's maybe part of the messaging here this morning when we're talking about this is you want to always check those on a regular basis just to make sure, especially if it's you're collecting cash or money. So you always want to be careful. But that's one of the real advantages is you can be pretty confident. Another advantage, like for URL shorteners and the reason they exist is if you've got a website that's yourchurch.com/something/something/something. Um, that's not easy to type in, and it's easily mangled, especially people trying to, type that in on a smartphone. I am a terrible typer, and if I've got to type in something longer than ABC123, I'm in trouble.
I don't even try. It's a turn off.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So make it easy with these URL shorteners, and they can be in a lot of different formats now these days. So depending on who your web host is, sometimes you can craft, like if you're using Final Web, there's actually a function in there where you can create these short, memorable URLs that are yourchurch.com/sign up or whatever it is. But if you don't have that capability, there are other tools that'll do that for you. One that we're using is called Rebrandly. And even for free, you can get a lot out of this. So, what Rebrandly does is it allows you to attach any domain you want as a shortener. So, for instance, our church's website is churchbigbend or christbigbend.com. That's not overly short in and of itself. So, what I did is I secured a domain called mycbb.org. And then, so that's a number of letters shorter, and that just becomes our shortened URL. So it's mycbb.org/sign up. So people now can, with some confidence, know that was something we created, and you can do that through Rebrandly to whatever URL you want. That tool also allows you to create kind of customized QR codes. So you can put your like logo in the middle and use your church or school colors. So it really brands the whole experience, which I think is important to keep things consistent in your communication strategy. That's good, but also to instill a little bit of confidence. This is part of in our case, the Christ Big Bend family of links or tools.
And as I understand it, they actually helped you with that process of securing the domain. Is that correct? You got that through their.
That you can. I
Okay,
didn't because I used like hover.com or something like that. We've talked about, domain registration before
sure.
because I already had other domains there and it was just easier for me to manage it. So you can either use them and I think you would pay them and I didn't want to pay another vendor or use your regular registrar
That's
and
cool.
then just bring it in. So they allow up to one Rebrandly I'm talking about. They allow up to one domain to be brought in, but then for the free version, then you can have 10 links per month created, which I'd say if you're producing more than 10 links per month that would ultimately be printed or something, maybe that's too many.
Mm,
So that seems to have been plenty for us. So
okay.
really good product. I didn't know before I went on this search, I had never heard of them, and they are really one of the major players here too, in addition to some of the usual suspects. So we had been using Bitly, and
Mm-hmm.
we've used Bitly here on the show too. Um, but that's not very customized. You can, I think, get a customized second half of that bit.ly
Mm-hmm.
slash CBB or whatever it
Yes.
is, but then you're kind of locked in. And that's not quite as fancy is not the right word. It's not quite as branded
And
as one that you would create. So,
in this day and age when people are suspicious and things, branding is a pretty big key to this, I think. I've
hmm
I've moved away from using Bitly because even if I can customize the second half, it just doesn't give the same comfort level for people
right.
to access a site that has a kind of a generic URL, nothing tied to my organization.
Yep.
So security
So
is important.
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of applications. Why should this matter to a ministry? You've talked about a few of them, putting it in bulletins. You mentioned one, at the donut table or a welcome
Hmm.
table or on visitor cards, yard signs or any kind of signage. We use a QR code on the screen for during the offering, so people
Hmm.
can bring that up on their phone pretty easily. Obviously, for registration kinds of things, and then on the school side, all kinds of applications, parent communications, student projects, um, classroom door signs, teacher pages, supply lists. Um, all those kinds of things are great candidates for this kind of thing.
Yeah, basically anything you want people to get to and find and use and respond. And yeah,
hmm
you could have an exit survey that you switch out over time or whatever that um, you'd want people to respond to. Actually, this is a fun one. Has nothing to do with ministry, sorry. But we subscribe to an escape room type box that comes once a month. And they use QR codes in the process. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
hmm
And you have QR codes in some of the materials that come. And then that takes you to basically an online form where you put in the clue you figured out or whatever. Or sometimes there's multiple choice and all kinds of things. But basically their whole product line is driven by QR codes. It's pretty
hmm
cool.
Yeah, it
So
is. So there's a lot of these tools on the URL shortener front. We've talked about Bitly. A lot of people used to use Google's shortener. That doesn't that they stopped doing that, I think, last year.
sadly,
Goo
yeah.
GOO.gl. I think that's what it
Hmm.
was.
Yeah, and there's would
So
create a QR code as well. So you could
yeah,
use
yeah,
it for
yeah,
that purpose
yeah.
too.
There's Tiny URL, there's Rebrandly. There's a couple that in our research I wasn't even aware of. Dub.co, Short.io, or a couple other ones. But do your own search, and most of these have a free plan, so you can try before you. If you need to buy, you can at least test them out. But
Hmm.
there's uh, there's the whole management of that too. So whatever you try, you want to make sure that it's easy to find what you've done in the past, and then can change it if you need to as well. Nothing worse than kind of being stuck with a URL. Um, on the QR code generator side, there's all kinds of tools. One of your favorite tools, Sally, Canva, has a QR code generator. I don't know if you've used that before on
I
Canva.
haven't. It actually lets you put the little icon in the
Oh,
middle, like
yeah.
you described, so you
Hmm.
can kind of customize the look of the QR code, which is
Yeah.
nice.
One thing that in my research here, just for the show, I wasn't aware of, and I should have been, is right in Chrome. If you right click on a web page, you have an option to create a QR code to that
Look at
page,
that.
which is pretty cool.
Cool. Hmm.
I've never used that. Free, it's instant. You don't need an account. It just does it. So that's pretty awesome. I would assume Edge does that too. I haven't looked at it, but Chrome is what most people use, and it's built right in there. Um, Also, there might be QR code generators built into other tools you already use, whether it's a planning center or your CMS or your website package, whatever it is. So look around and see if there's things available for you. But there really is not much of a barrier to entry if you want to create a QR code. And that'd probably be something you'd want to organize as well. Have some kind of directory of QR codes you've created so that you know what's out there and where they're going, rather than just kind of going hog wild and then you're not quite sure, because not all the QR codes are obviously apparent where they go. And that's maybe a good tip too. You probably should brand the QR code as to what it's for, underneath or on top, or even maybe create a short URL that goes along with the QR code in case somebody maybe is challenged by QR codes, or maybe is just more comfortable with the URL approach. So you're giving them options.
Yeah, I kind of get frustrated when I find a QR code on my phone and I can't scan it with my phone if
That too, yeah.
I'm on my phone. So having the URL option seems really wise to me in those scenarios.
I thought Apple created a workaround for that, or maybe even a feature where if you had it in your like photo library, you
Oh,
could long press on it or something. I'll have to do some research. Maybe one of our listeners has had that experience. But yeah, I've seen that a few times where I've got to now have two devices. I've
yeah.
got to have, I got to show it
Let
to
me
my
scan my phone.
computer, or I've got to shoot my screen or whatever. It's yeah,
Right.
crazy. Yeah, exactly.
So I
So
do know a little Apple helpful thing with links is in the Apple Mail in iOS, you can hard press on any link and it'll pop up a preview of what that's going to take you to. So you don't
yeah,
actually have to go to the page. You can see what the page is. So that might give you a little more comfort level or whatever if there are
yeah,
links you want to check out.
yep. Yeah, just be careful. In our research, I noticed that I learned a new word, quishing.
Hmm.
That's QR code phishing. So that's that, the bad actor swapping legitimate codes and taking you to places you don't necessarily want to go.
Stay aware.
Yep. Be safe out there.
Hmm.
So, if you've got ideas or other ways that your ministry is using QR codes or UL shorteners, let us know. We'd love to share those with the class, and we can continue this conversation. So, all kinds of good tech that'll help you communicate better and make it easier in this kind of hybrid paper slash digital world that we will live in for quite some time yet. So,
Mhm.
all right, Sally. Good conversation. We did it.
Yes.
No AI.
Yes.
Let's
Uh,
move on to, oh, go ahead.
I was wondering if there was going to be just a little bit of disclosure that maybe my searching incorporated some AI as I was preparing.
Good
So
use
maybe there
case.
was some AI behind the scenes, but not the topic.
Full disclosure.
All
Yes.
right.
Mhm. All right. Let's move on to ministry resources. And this
Yeah.
is very timely. We
Fits right
found
in with our discussion topic, right?
exactly at worshiptimes.org, which I think I've seen in the past, but I don't spend a lot of time here. So I just kind of stumbled on this in my research. They had a nice article last year, early last year, on QR codes in ministry, what they are and how ministries can use them effectively. So they've got some nice best practices and they list some tools and some applications and, the whys and the why nots. Just kind of a good, nice bullet pointed little article that help you think through your digital marketing and how to get people from one place to another. So. And I'm interested in what else worshiptimes.org has, because I think they did a nice job with this. Maybe there's some other resources we'll find down the road. So that's the ministry resource.
Excellent. Um, I'm going to stick with the theme with my pick of the week. That's what's up next.
Go for
And
it.
I'm just going to share a WordPress plugin that I have experience with called Pretty Links. And so I have a personal WordPress site that I use, and I installed this plugin. It's free. Um, but it does have additional paid upgrades if you want to look into that. But basically, it does exactly what you were saying. It uses my own domain. I didn't have to obtain another one, but my own domain, and I can put whatever I want after the slash and direct it to whatever URL I put in. Bake into the process. And so I have things, like embroidery or painting or whatever it may be that I have on my craft website after that slash of my domain name. And it's super quick and easy to install. They're regularly updating it. It's used by 300,000 plus people. So that makes it a little more comfortable to use because it's widely used and it has great ratings, 4.8 out of 5 stars. So, pretty links. I'll have a link in the show notes to that. If you're running a WordPress site looking for a way to do those friendly URLs, this would be one option for you, one plugin that might be a benefit.
So how does it pretty them up other than giving you a short URL? Does it allow some formatting and imagery or a button or what does it do?
No, I think they just allow you to put whatever you want after the slash.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's a pretty link when you use it in communication. So your own domain slash
Okay.
whatever, and it'll
Okay.
redirect to that. And then you can go in, as you said, and kind of dynamically change. Maybe it's your domain slash event. And you can point that to a different URL behind the scenes as your needs change,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to change the pretty link to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Cost is free.
cost is free. So that works if you're
Perfect.
on WordPress.
If you're on the free plan. Beautiful.
Hmm.
All right. My pick of the week is simply a page that I think we've talked about in the past, and maybe we would have a link to it on our show notes somewhere. It's our Wells Technology Partners page. And I'm calling it out today as a pick because we've added a new technology partner. Right now, we have Concordia Technology Solutions with their church management software, Church
Hmm.
360. We have Final Web, of course, was our original
Right.
technology partner and still is a partner. So a web hosting solution. We have BDJ Tech, who helps a lot of our mostly schools with their Chromebooks and screen needs. And we've added another group into that category, that same category as BDJ Tech, and that's CCS Wisconsin. This group, and specifically Eric Peterson and Scott Girardi, are out of the La Crosse area or Onalaska area, I want to say. And had a great conversation with them last month. And I think you might find some very useful resources there in the areas of IT management, but also Chromebook purchases and maintenance, screens and AV. These are Wells guys that have done a lot of work with a lot of our congregations out on that end of the state, but they can work nationally as well. Eric was a 2004 graduate of Luther High School in Onalaska, and just real interested in trying to help our churches and schools figure out how best to get the best value they can for their technology dollar. They've worked with a lot of schools, a lot of school districts, other nonprofits, and some bigger names within the state as well. So I think you'd find working with them a pleasant experience as well. So go to that technology partners page. We'll put a link to it in the show notes for all the people that we know and love, and would say if you're
Mhm.
looking for any of these kinds of services, we've had on BDJ Tech, just to give him a little plug, Chris Hunt is a great resource, or has been a great resource for our schools for many years now. And then our two other partners, Concordia and FinalWeb, have been a blessing to many of our churches and schools as well. So that's our technology partners page. A little plug this week.
That's exciting to have someone else in the mix, another
Hmm.
company
Yeah, yeah.
out there doing good stuff.
And we don't put many on there because we just want to kind of keep it the best of the best, and those that we have a good relationship with. So that's what that list represents.
That's
Sally,
awesome.
I think we are to the point in our show where we talk about community news and feedback.
Yeah, and happening in the news right now is registration for the Wells Youth Rally happening this summer, July 14th through 17th at Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio. What's important to know is that the cost is $450 currently through April 30th and $475 for most of the month of May. So it's time to get those registrations in. And I know at my church in particular, we had a meeting with the parents and the youth that were interested in attending this past Sunday. So they're working hard to get all that information pulled together and get the registrations taken care of so they can take advantage of that early bird pricing. So just a nice reminder for you that you need to pay attention because the date for registration and better pricing is fastly approaching. So
Good.
that's one. The second one I picked up from the Wells Intersections Facebook page. Someone asked a question about sharing ideas for children's bags for church. So I don't know if your church does this, Martin, but in the
We
back,
do.
every little child knows to stop by and pick up a bag on their way into church because it has things for them to do. And one idea that was shared by a friend of WELSTech, Cindy Krieger. Hi, Cindy. I know you're listening. Just wanted to give you a little shout out. She shared from the Naomi Paper Company, Naomi Paper Co., um, the fact that she has free printable Bible verse coloring sheets. And actually, she apparently changes these out over time. So if you're interested, you can sign up. Give her your email address, and you will receive an email with a pack of 20 different coloring sheets that you can print and include in those children's bags. And these are super well done. I was really impressed based on Bible verses and so on. If you remain in me, I will bear you will bear much fruit, and it has fruit around the edges, things like that. This one was pretty cool. It's a little bit sideways on my screen, but it says, "You are the God who sees me," and it's kind of written in sunglasses. So lots of creativity here from Naomi. I did look a little at her website, and it's a mom who's just gifted and artistic endeavors and has this as a giveaway on her website and lots of other beautiful products on her site as well. But yeah, if you're looking for something new, try out Naomi Paper Co.'s free printable Bible verse coloring sheets. They're really well done.
Nice. Nice, nice. If you'd like to contribute to the show, which we really would encourage you to think about, because I know there's great ideas out there that we'd like to capture and share, go to our show notes page, wellstech.wells.net, is where you can go to find out about all the things that we share. All the links are there, et cetera, et cetera. But that's also a place you can leave a comment or find all the other ways to get in touch with us. You can always email us, wellstech@wells.net. And then all our social links are up there in the upper right-hand corner. There's also a list of upcoming shows and obviously all the things that we mention on the show, AI or otherwise, our
Mhm.
picks, our ministry resources, just all the things that WELSTech is over the years. So it's all there. I think that's going to about do it for our episode 774. We are looking forward to having you all back again, and we can talk more about technology and ministry. Thanks for joining us this time. Blessings on, I'm sure, an exciting time in your church or school, April, May, all kinds of things going on. So
Busy.
we appreciate you lighting up your podcast player and listening to us for a little bit of that time. And we invite you back next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.